Namaste and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, show about India's foreign relations, India's big impact on the world, India's engagement with different regions and countries around the world, and how India is trying to shape a world order that is equitable, just, beneficial to all sides, and of course advancing its own core national interests. Viewers, this episode we are looking at India's backyard, the Indian Ocean region. The Indian Ocean region encompasses nearly 40 countries along its littoral. 40% of the world's population resides in the Indian Ocean region. It's a vast waterway that's very significant for commercial activity, for maritime trade, and also geostrategically important with important choke points from which countries vie for influence. Indian Ocean region, you cannot exaggerate the importance of this space for India. And India geographically, historically and culturally has been at the core of the Indian Ocean region. So today we are going to talk about India's strategy in the Indian Ocean region, how it's been evolving, and what impact it's having on all these littoral spaces around it. From the east coast of Africa and the Horn of Africa and the Gulf all the way to the Straits of Malacca in Southeast Asia, this vast space, we're going to be talking about the Indian Ocean region in all its dimensions. And taking us through this voyage is Dr.Sreeradha Datta. Let me introduce you to her. Dr. Datta is a senior fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation, an important think tank in India, and she's also a fellow at the National University of Singapore. Thank you, Dr. Datta. Thank you for joining us on this show. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure for me too.
Dr. Datta, when you talk of Indian Ocean region, 2/3 of the oil supplies of the world pass through this, and you know the statistics don't lie. It's just such an important region, right? A crucial waterway. And how do you think India has seen the Indian Ocean and our vision of this region? How have we tried to shape it, and what are our stakes in this important maritime domain?
You know, the primacy of Indian Ocean has emerged, and we see this in, you know, during the Cold War and the post-Cold War, the interest in the, you know, the areas kind of seemed elsewhere. We were looking at other points of interest. But now as we see it, of course, for, as you mentioned, the trade, the energy trade, and a lot of our cargo, huge amount, bulk movement takes place through this. So obviously the sea lines of communication in the Indian Ocean region, keeping it open, keeping it free and, you know, peaceful communication is important for us. So that was always there. So the Indian Navy always had an interest there. But as of now, we see politically, diplomatically, and apart from that huge economic dimension, Indian Ocean has really is part of the, I would say, the frontier effort of Indian diplomatic efforts just now.
Mm-hmm. And the notion of a region, this is different from just bilateral. I mean, there are 40 countries all along, spread around this vast expanse, but the way we deal with them, it's not just a one-on-one, but also with a sense of shaping the broader geo-economic and geopolitical space which is rimmed by the water. So that regional approach, you know, or sub-regional approach, I think has been a very critical thing to the way we have been dealing with this IOR. So your thoughts on how we approach it as a region, no? Not just on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah, so exactly what you said, we are part of the Indian Ocean Region Cooperation, we are part of BIMSTEC. But again, in the recent years, we've seen there's a lot of, and of course, ever since Prime Minister Modi's taken over, I think there is again a huge effort to kind of revive those engagements. And if you look at the Indian Ocean, really India has the kind of diplomatic engagement which none other power, I mean, there US has an engagement, US, France, of late we've seen UAE having some interest in the Indian Ocean, but none the way India has.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi talks about our common maritime home, and his vision for the IOR has always been one where we advance regional cooperation with all the key countries, and to use Indian capabilities and capacities to assist the other member countries of the IOR region who will benefit from Indian support. Viewers, I have a speech for you by Prime Minister Modi, which he delivered at the inauguration of Indian Naval Submarine Kalvari in December 2017, where he laid out his vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region for the IOR. Let's listen in and continue the discussion.
साथियों, कहा जाता है कि 21वीं सदी एशिया की सदी है। यह भी तय है कि 21वीं सदी के विकास का रास्ता हिंद महासागर से होकर के ही निकलेगा। और इसलिए हिंद महासागर की हमारी सरकार में की नीतियों में एक विशेष उसका स्थान है, विशेष जगह है। ये अप्रोच हमारे विजन में झलकती है। मैं इसे एक स्पेशल नाम से भी उल्लेख करता हूं, सागर, SAGAR। और जब मैं सागर कहता हूं, यानी कि सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ फॉर ऑल द रीजन, सागर। हम हिंद महासागर में अपने वैश्विक, सामरिक और आर्थिक हितों को लेकर पूरी तरह सजग हैं, सतर्क हैं। और इसलिए भारत की मॉडर्न और मल्टी डायमेंशनल नौसेना पूरे क्षेत्र में शांति के लिए, स्थायित्व के लिए आगे बढ़कर के नेतृत्व कर रही है। जिस तरह भारत की राजनीतिक और आर्थिक मैरीटाइम पार्टनरशिप बढ़ रही है, क्षेत्रीय फ्रेमवर्क को मजबूत किया जा रहा है, उससे इस लक्ष्य की प्राप्ति और आसान नजर आती है। साथियों, समुद्र में निहित शक्तियों हमें राष्ट्र निर्माण के लिए आर्थिक शक्ति प्रदान करती है। और इसलिए भारत उन चुनौतियों को लेकर भी गंभीर है जिनका सामना भारत ही नहीं बल्कि इस क्षेत्र के अलग अलग देशों को भी करना पड़ता है। चाहे समुद्र के रास्ते आने वाला आतंकवाद हो, पायरेसी की समस्या हो, ड्रग्स की तस्करी हो, भारत इन सभी चुनौतियों से निपटने में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभा रहा है। सबका साथ, सबका विकास, ये हमारा मंत्र जल, थल, नभ में भी एक ही समान है। पूरे विश्व को एक परिवार मानते हुए, वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की भावना को आगे बढ़ाते हुए भारत अपने वैश्विक उत्तरदायित्वों को लगातार निभा रहा है। भारत अपने साथी देशों के लिए उनके संकट के समय फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर बना हुआ है। और इसलिए जब श्रीलंका में बाढ़ आती है तो भारत की नौसेना तत्परता से मदद के लिए सबसे पहले पहुंच जाती है। जब मालदीव में पानी का संकट आता है तो भारत से जहाज भर भर के पानी तत्काल पहुंचाया जाता है। जब बांग्लादेश में चक्रवात आता है तो भारत की नौसेना बीच समंदर में फंसे बांग्लादेशियों को बाहर निकाल करके ला करके मानवता का काम करती है।
Viewers, Prime Minister of India laying out broad vision for Indian leadership of the IOR, and Dr. Datta, Prime Minister Modi has talked about many things, our stakes in the IOR and also what we are doing. And one of the points he made, stark illustrations of crises and how we have been the first responder. So this humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, HADR as it's called, search and rescue, SAR, all these functions, India has really taken the lead in this region, and our Navy actually is involved in the high seas to enable other countries who have lesser capacities and to be able to create safe spaces for commerce and for trade to grow. So that provision of public goods, that's what India seems to be doing, and this HADR aspect in particular, I think conveys a message that India is ready to shoulder more responsibilities, right? That's what Prime Minister is saying.
Absolutely, and I think over the years we've seen, given the kind of activities which Prime Minister Modi just mentioned, that whenever there is any humanitarian climate issues or any other natural disasters, India is the first one to reach. So not only are they able to, they have the capacity, the wherewithal. That's the first thing, we have that, and then also our intentions to be there right on top of it and help. And I think in this whole space, India probably is recognized as not only one of the largest economy really, but also somebody who has that intention of taking care together.
It seems, Dr. Datta, that we used to lack this maritime mindset. I mean, there was this criticism that India is very continental, and that all we historically have looked at invaders coming from the northwest, and then subsequently the land border dispute with China. So as a result of which there has been this orientation away from the ocean, but looking at the vast coastline, we have 7,500 kilometers of coastline, the peninsular India, and the interest that we have. I think what you are saying is that we have now finally, thank God, we finally have a maritime outlook and mindset in our strategic approach, because earlier, like you said, it was patchwork or it was just one-on-one, and we really never thought of the ocean as that important, and control of the seas and stability in the seas around us. I think we are paying greater attention to it.
There is no doubt about that. In fact, if you look at, we also have a center which manages the, controls, not controls, surveys the weather movement, and has been able to give.
We have the fusion center also,
which is Indian Ocean Fusion Center. Of course, there's a talk about making that the BIMSTEC center, because all the BIMSTEC countries are part of this, and we've been able to kind of engage with them, ensure that everybody's information is actual time basis, which has been a very, very useful element in terms of our engagement with them, because this place we know is, we have immense amount of natural calamities and things like that. So it's about time that we kind of focus on that. And as I said earlier, Sagar, of course, is a policy which has been very robustly implemented here. But look at the multilateral exercises we do, Malabar exercises. We do a lot of petrol combat also in the region. We have a lot of bilateral exercises too. So, Singapore, Sri Lanka, these are kind of involvement that has happened. It was there earlier in bits and pieces. Now there is a real, I would say, a kind of an architecture that's becoming there. And I think BIMSTEC again and IORC plays a critical role in looking at it again holistically. It was earlier keeping your cargo movement, your trade, ensuring the peaceful movement of that, but now we realize that the engagement has to be at various levels, and I think it's been a very strong message conveyed in the last few years that we really want to walk the talk.
So we are also convening others. The Indian Ocean Rim Association that Dr. Datta is talking about is of course the Pan Indian Ocean Organization with 23 member countries and many observers, and India has been driving force for the IORA, and this organization has gone from strength to strength. Of course, the focus is on also not just on security but also on economic cooperation, on developing tourism, on fisheries, on marine conservation. Dr. Datta was just mentioning the environmental calamities and the rising sea levels. So small island nations, many of them are spread across the IOR, and their security has a special environmental dimension, and that also India is trying to assist. Dr. Datta, on the blue economy concept, I mean that's another area which is part of the security and growth for all in the region, and the blue economy developing this. We have also domestically done major changes to our port environment. all along. It's called the Sagarmala
Yeah.
project to improve logistics and transportation from the hinterland of India to the coast, and from the coast connecting to all our major partner countries,
Yeah.
from East Africa all the way to Southeast Asia. So that synergy, the Sagarmala and the Sagar approach to the whole region, those two seem to have been well thought out, because earlier it was all haphazard, and now it looks like there is a plan, and India wants to be also the economic centerpiece of the revival and the resurgence of this whole region.
Clearly so, because if you look at the way we are developing our own ports, there's been a huge, again, we realize that while, this government is of course known for the kind of transportation corridors and network that has developed. Look at the South Asia sub-region. We just begin with India and Bangladesh, and I know that's going to develop into a much larger cobweb. This time at the BIMSTEC summit in Colombo, we've agreed on a MOU for the transportation connectivity plan, which is again connecting to the larger Indian Ocean Bay of Bengal region. The kind of focus attention that's happening for the blue economy, not only for India, but I think we've given a message that it's for every island nation. We are happy to be part of that, and I think the mantra from Mr. Modi has been about how you kind of grow with each other.
Absolutely,
so that's something which is pretty much reflected in many of the initiatives that India is taking.
We grow together, we also defend together. Viewers, I have a special video message from Commodore Anil Jai Singh. He is at the Indian Maritime Foundation, a former Indian Navy officer, about the geostrategic challenge of China and how India is responding to it in the Indian Ocean. Listen in.
From a traditional perspective, the great power competition presently being played out mainly in the South China Sea and the Western Pacific is heating up. China is building a formidable blue water navy at an unprecedented pace. Since its maritime geography is unfavorable to its ambitions, it will need greater sea room to flex its maritime muscle. The Indian Ocean not only gives it the space, but also provides it access to the Atlantic Ocean. Initiatives like the Belt and Road and its aggressive maritime diplomacy in the Indian Ocean have a deep underlying strategic intent. The frequent deployment of research ships in the Indian Ocean is also part of this. It is therefore imperative for India to maintain a favorable maritime situation in the region at all times and build a commensurate maritime capability. It should be able to shape the outcomes in the Indian Ocean from a position of strength and not allow itself to be shaped by them. A governance deficit, internal strife, and economic deprivation amongst many countries in the Indian Ocean littoral, coupled with the existential threat to some due to the effects of climate change, make them very vulnerable to inimical external influences which also undermine regional security. India has rightly taken a leadership role in mitigating these challenges through inclusive and cooperative multi-sectoral capacity building initiatives across the Indian Ocean littoral and in the strategically located island states. These are encapsulated in the Sagar Doctrine, an acronym for security and growth for all in the region. The Navy has also established a robust maritime domain awareness capability in the Indian Ocean through multilateral efforts with other navies, including frequent bilateral and multilateral exercises for enhancing interoperability and developing a shared understanding of the regional security imperatives. Information sharing mechanisms like the Indian Ocean Region Information Fusion Center located in Gurugram have further enhanced the regional MDA capability. Indian naval ships on multi-mission deployments across the length and breadth of the Indo-Pacific are often the first responders in a humanitarian crisis. While it is active in promoting regional security in regional multilateral institutions like the Indian Ocean Rim Association or BIMSTEC, it has also established the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium to promote naval synergy in the region. The country is also promoting blue economy initiatives and battling for the smaller countries in important global forums like the UN Security Council and the G20. These are all attempts to establish a robust Indian Ocean security architecture. All these initiatives had led India to be mandated as a net security provider in the region. However, the Navy was never comfortable with this term as it was neither well understood nor well explained. And the current term preferred security partner seems more apt and more suitable. So India definitely has its task cut out in ensuring regional maritime security in the years to come, and its stature as an Indian Ocean power will demand that it proves more than equal to that task.
Viewers, Commodore Anil Jai Singh talking about India as a preferred security partner. Dr. Datta, the Chinese challenge cannot be denied, and they have been trying to intrude deeper and deeper, reach all the way up to the Atlantic via the Indian Ocean, and of course they have the Belt and Road initiative, and they throw around a lot of loans to try and capture strategic spaces. We have seen what happened to Hambantota in Sri Lanka, for example, Kyaukphyu in Myanmar, and Gwadar in Pakistan, and further afield all the way up to Djibouti. They have established a military base now. Now the challenge for India is clear, right? Because we want to keep this open, and in a way this also becomes part of the Indo-Pacific, which is a larger domain that includes the Western Pacific and combines it with the Indian Ocean. So this whole region, Commodore Jai Singh was talking about vulnerable countries which are financially in trouble or which have fallen into the debt trap, and how we are dealing with them. So your thoughts on our strategy in pushing back, how exactly are we doing it, and what else needs to be done?
Let's start with two island nations, Maldives and Sri Lanka. Small nations, dependent on external support. We've seen in Maldives that they were going down the same lane in terms of debt issues, whole lot of infrastructure projects that initiated. Some of course very well completed. It's been very beneficial. This is not to say that some of the Chinese, but they overdid it in the sense. So it was really going into that crevice. Thankfully, the change of premiership with President Soli coming in, there was a kind of a step back, and we've seen how India has come in so strongly. And I'm not saying this is a reaction to Chinese involvement in the engagement. There is also a capacity and wherewithal. We can never compete with the kind of deep pockets and the systems that they have. I mean, we have far more procedural issues that we follow. So in our engagement in South Asia, in Indian Ocean, of course, has been limited because of our capacities at times. But recently, I mean, the Maldives experience has been fabulous because we've been able to complete all our projects on time. I think the whole idea is to not only work government to government, which we are doing very well in all of these island nations or the sub-region or the region, but let the people also understand that what India is able to deliver for them. Whether it's China, there's a deep contrast in the way they handle matters, and I think that is not lost on any one of them. The recent case of Sri Lanka, I think, is very, very obvious. And while even today I would say there is a tendency for Sri Lanka in this particular case, and I'm also true for some, that you're running with the hare and hounding with, with the...
they want to have options, that's
yes,
okay.
Which is
but
absolutely
India
okay. Which
is
is absolutely
showing that
okay.
It's different and distinct.
Yes, and your delivery mechanisms have, become much more effective now. Earlier there was always a kind of a India doesn't deliver, they say, which is, we've changed that face front, that we are able to now implement many of these policy that we have, promised to deal with. So I think China will do what they do. As I said, every nation has their own purpose and reason. But I think what India's intentions are through this, whether the neighborhood policy, whether through the sub-regional, and again, the whole engine of growth that India is now able to position itself as. And I don't think any nation wants to be left out of that. And as we discussed it earlier, that India has positioned itself not only geographically but diplomatically, politically, military, as a very, very strong nation in the region.
And Dr. Datta, talking of security aspect, I mean, the National Security Advisor, Mr. Doval, for example, has been doing this triangular dialogue with the Maldives and Sri Lanka. And we have similar such trilateral and plurilateral initiatives going on. Some are with the Quad countries, and France has also come in, and France has a significant presence, has become a major partner of India in the IOR. There's also, we are doing with Australia and with Indonesia. So clearly, like you are saying, there is a purpose, and we are actually showing a greater will and determination now to defend these spaces and to not allow them to be, as Commodore was saying, inimical forces to exploit the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses and try to come in and then create a mess out here. So I think we are taking that, we are willing to shoulder the burden of leadership and responsibility more, and especially these small group defense diplomacy that we are doing now.
Yeah.
That seems to be an innovation.
Yes, I mean, I think if I look at the various engagement, I probably suggest that there is a security architecture which is appearing. This is something we've been always inhibited from, you know, being part of, but we really believe that there is a security platform where all of us need to work together. I mean, that is core, right? If your security interests are not addressed, the rest of it doesn't appear. So you can't be saying that, okay, I'll engage with you economically while, you know, somebody else will be
You have to
security
have a
concerns.
holistic,
Yes.
yeah.
So I think whether, and I keep using the word BIMSTEC because it's a kind of sub-region within, includes many of the Indian Ocean islands, and there's a larger, you know, network that's developing. It's like a cobweb which is now developing, and I think that is clear that no country, no partnership should happen because they are pushed into it, but because they genuinely believe that it's beneficial for them and each one has their back. I think that is a core interest here, that I am not going to be a security threat for anybody else, and I think India has very clearly conveyed that.
And last word, Dr. Datta, we are almost out of time. The point is extra regional powers, US India partnership, maritime dimension, Indian Ocean, they have a joint shared vision for Indian Ocean. With France we have declared one, even the UK to a lesser extent. We are now more open to these kind of partnerships because it's part of our rebalancing effort to create a multipolar Asia and not to allow you know, some kind of a vast Chinese lake to develop in this whole space. So I think now we are geopolitically more astute and awake at the wheel. And your thoughts on how that's going, you know, bringing in extra regional powers which are friendly to us and with whom we are willing to now do more interoperability, more joint exercises, and also more patrolling and more show of force, you know, that's necessary on the part of the big powers to be able to deter adversaries.
You know, India is a classic example of how you can engage with a variety and all hues of, you know, nations. So, while Indian Ocean is often very, for our purpose, divided into Eastern Indian Ocean and the Western, and we belong to the Western Hemisphere, so we kind of look at it more closely. But all of these powers that you mentioned, whether it's US, whether it's France, whether it's UK, they've always had a kind of enduring interest in the Indian Ocean for again a variety of reasons. This again, as the whole emergence of Indian Ocean has again happened in recent decade, I would say, and India works closely with all of them. So there is no reason why India will not have you know, partner movements with them. In the sense, you know, I think the point that Commodore made about how India is not comfortable being the net security provider, that's a term I think was used by US first, and then we realized that partnership is something that we want, and the kind of security dialogues, our national advisor, as you mentioned, the trilateral dialogue and other dialogues, we've never seen that happen. So at that very level, so that's where I see that architecture happening. And India, I mean, the only concern here is China, and I think everybody has similar concerns. I think that is also, you know, bringing us together.
Remarkable, isn't it, viewers? Dr. Sreeradha Datta just reminded us that barring China, nobody really objects to Indian leadership and this proactive role that India is taking in this as a stewarding the entire Indian Ocean region. There are nearly 40 countries and all of them welcome India's leadership and India's stance and willingness to build webs of cooperation. So I think that's the future of the Indian Ocean region, and we are trying to put our best foot forward and have a proactive presence and proactive engagement with all the key stakeholders, so that Prime Minister's vision of our common maritime home is realized. So this region is fraught with conflicts. It is bound to be a theater for major global contestation. Robert Kaplan, the American scholar, said long ago that Indian Ocean is going to be the deciding venue for great power contestation and pole positioning in the international order in the 21st century. But we are up for the task, and we are not leaving any stone unturned. Dr. Sreeradha Datta, thank you so much for enlightening the audience and for joining me today.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
That's all we have for you viewers. Keep thinking about the Indian Ocean region, the Indo-Pacific, which is an extension of that, and India's centrality to the development of this region. Until next time, take care.